G'day everyone. Today we're going to talk about custom GPTs, and I'll take you through creating one, and it's the recipe for AI success. So one thing that ChatGPT gets right is prompt. Everyone's there in the large language models, they say, hey, copy and paste these 40 fantastic prompts, and they really are good, and you're used to cutting and pasting them. But then ChatGPT said, hey, why don't we come up with custom instructions? And so you can put in there the way that you work all of the time. So in my custom instructions, and we went through this in a previous video, it's got like that I'm the CIO for the YMCA in Cincinnati. I am in charge of the AI Collaborative, and here's the type of stuff that I want to talk about. So whenever I start typing, it knows that I'm not trying to write some kid's novel. It knows that I'm talking about work. And then when I want to do something special, I would have lots of different prompts. I would have one for when I want to experiment with wine. I would have one for when I'm going on vacations. I would have one for mentoring. And all of these different ones, I would have to copy and paste them in the custom instructions. But then ChatGPT said, hey, why don't we come up with custom GPTs so that you can create a single-use specialist that you can refer to all of the time, and that way I get my custom instructions, and then when I want to focus on some other type of work such as food and wine pairing, I can go into that and check that out. So prompts, they're just like recipes. So depending upon how you put the ingredients together and combine them, it can turn out to be the perfect dish, like a fantastic response, a mediocre dish, like a mediocre response, or a complete mess. And the one constant, it's you and it's me. So that's why you need to learn how to do prompting. I'm not going to go into detail with this, but it talks about with prompts that you need to have a context or give it a persona, give it some specific instructions, the intent and goal, and then the format that you want it returned in. So in this example here, which is a pretty solid prompt, it says, hey, pretend you're a marketing director for YMCA of Anytown, USA. The branch has noticed a decline in young adult memberships, so we're going to try and fix that. And so we want to do a SWOT analysis, a target audience definition, proposed marketing channel and tactics, and so on, and a strategy that should be able to be presented to the board of directors. Here's another solid prompt, again, following the same thing. This was one that I'd shown in a previous video about creating some STEM activities for day camp as a person walks through trails in the woods. So custom GPTs, they are your recipe book. So storing lots of prompts is just like having a recipe book. So in this case, it's looking after soup and fish and meat and roasted meats and sauces and salads. And that's very much like an HR or a marketing or an IT or a fundraising or a membership or one on strategy. Or even in HR, you can have subcategories. So one just for recruiting folks, one for policy, one for matching resumes with job descriptions, one for creating job descriptions, and so on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go across to create a custom GPT. So now to do that, you have to have the paid version of ChatGPT. So over here, we can go to where it says Explore GPTs, and then up to Create. So just click on the Create button, and then it goes through, and there's lots of different ways. You can talk with it here to get it to create it, or you can go to the Configure tab here. So one thing which, if it's just like an assistant being brought on, so in this case, I'm going to bring on an assistant to work with the board, to help me with board-related stuff. I'm pretending I'm a CEO doing that. And so what I'll do is I'll just go back to ChatGPT and I'll say, write a job description for a board assistant. And this knows, because it's using my custom instructions, that I'll work for the YMCA. And I'll say, please also refer to Robert's Rules of Order for questions on running meetings. And it'll go through and it will do that in a different thing here. So it's coming up, talks about YMCA, insert your location, goes through here, key responsibilities. This all looks pretty good. Document management there, Robert's Rules of Order, qualifications, great. So what I'll do is I'll go through here, and everything apart from the qualifications, I'll bring up. I'll just copy this, go ahead and copy. And so then we will go back to create a GPT. And what I'll do is I'll just paste it in here in the instructions section. And so I'll call it the board assistant. And I'll just put that there. And the job description, I'll just make it simple. Assist in board interaction. That will probably do. Assist in board interaction. And so what I'll do is it goes through with this, and I'll just basically keep this pretty much as it is. I'll skip the conversation starters, and then with the knowledge, it'll ask me to upload files, and so I'm going to upload the board handbook, which this is, let me see, 23 pages, I believe. So it's just the board handbook. And so by uploading the book, it's got a certain amount of knowledge about how boards run generally, but with the specifics about like our bylaws or how the Cincinnati YMCA board works, that will be in the board handbook. And so by uploading that file, it will go through and it will check with that to make sure that it understands how we work specifically. And so as you're creating your own, you'd be able to do that as well. So you could upload, it will allow you to upload up to 20 files maximum for the knowledge. And so you can also cheat a little bit. So you can probably put 2 or 3 of them together if you do bump up against that 20 document limit. The more that you put in there, the more accurate it will become with regards to understanding how you work, but also it will make it a little slower as well. So with the capabilities, I've got it so that it can also go out to the web and look at things. We've got DAL-E image generation so that it can make a logo and so on. And if you put the code interpreter and data analysis on, then you'll be able to upload things like budget books, finance books, and so on. And this allows the end user to upload a file for analysis, or they can say, hey, here's a past meeting, create a meeting with a similar format. Actions we will not touch because that's talking about APIs, and that's way beyond the scope of doing this. And so what we can do is we can also create, you can upload your own photo, or I'll just get DAL-E to, it will figure out what a board assistant logo should look like. Something went wrong, okay? So we'll skip that one for now. What we'll do is we'll just sort of say, let's go ahead and create. Oh, it did come up with the board logo, which is nice. And I'll say, let's create this. And so you can also be there and I'll say, this is me, I'm the only person who wants to use it. Or you can send it to anyone with a link so that they can also use it. Or you can put it in the GPT store if you think it's something of value to everyone. So as an example, my wine whisperer, I put that one out there just so anyone who wants to use it can use it. And so I'm going to save that. And once it's saved, here is a link. So I can copy this link and anyone can use it. I can also copy it from up here in the URL line. And what I'll do right now is I'll say view the GPT. And so that way we can check out what it's doing. So with this board assistant, I can say we don't have a quorum. What business can we do? So while we're waiting for a quorum, what business can we do? A question that sometimes gets asked at board meetings. And so it's going through, it's checking to see if there's any special things that we've got within the Cincinnati area, like the knowledge files that we uploaded, and then it just goes through and talks about different things that you can do. So it also says in terms, specific terms of the YMCA's, of Greater Cincinnati's Code of Regulations, action without a meeting. And so this is very important. So it went through, and instead of just consulting with how it knows boards run, it went through and it got into that document and said, here is something very, very specific. So with this board assistant, I can also get it to do things like, I can say, make an agenda for our next meeting of 90 minutes. We want to talk about the strategic plan. The topic will be, and I'm just going to make this up, this is not what we're dealing with. I'll say the topic will be if I can spell correctly, resilient communities. And so it goes through, and again, how does it know how to come up with a 90-minute meeting? It knows how to do that because it's already seen millions of meetings, and so it knows how to go ahead and flesh that out. And then you can also be there and you can sort of say, ask me questions back and forth. Would you like to change this? You can have a look and sort of say, oh, the committee reports, who from that should be doing the presentation. And so by putting in more information, you can get that working. So now you can see that how simple that was to create something that works pretty well. And over time, if you go through and you start to edit this and start to add things to it, so eventually you can add more to it and make it really, really good and really powerful. I'm going to jump across to, this is basically the instructions, the custom instructions for a YMCA membership helper or YMCA membership assistant. And so this is 3.5 pages basically talking about the core philosophy, values alignment, making sure the tone and style and so on, strategic planning, context in that, and ethical guidelines, making sure that the advisor should prevent any form of bias or discrimination in advice and support to staff. And that's a very important thing that we would definitely want to make sure that we have here at the YMCA. And so over time, the AI Collaborative, we're going to come up with some really good generic versions of this so that you can just copy and paste them into your own custom GPTs. And that way it'll be a very good starter. And then working with the Collaborative, we'll have some best practices and some people will come up with some really, really, really rock solid instructions for, say, the board advisor, membership advisor, youth sports, and so on. And what we'll do is we'll get those really, really, really rock solid ones and we'll share them out with folks so that they can either just use them themselves or copy and paste the instructions, and then they can customize it. So whenever they ask a question, it'll know, like for me, my name is James McIntyre, I'm the CIO, and my address where I work, and so on, so that then it will be able to, when I say create a letter, it will actually just say, hey, this is from James, and so on, and it will fill out the address and everything else appropriately. So, your GPTs improve over time. I'd already mentioned this in a previous video. So the GPTs you create right now are going to get better. So as an example, as more languages come out, they can translate automatically into other languages, so that with my Wine Whisperer custom GPT that I've got, it will be there and someone can use it in Spanish or Italian or French or whatever, and they can use that in their own custom language because I don't have to be an expert in any of those languages, and I'm not. And so that way it gives a lot more utility over time, and I don't have to do anything about it. The data analytics just gets better and better, and so again, over time, it will produce better results, and with voice and camera as well. So with camera, I used to have to type in, this is the bottle of wine that I've got, or this is the meal that I've got. Now I can take a picture of it and it'll say, it looks like you're eating some salmon with some asparagus and some rice. Here are the wines that will go with it. And so now all of these new features are added, and I didn't have to do anything to that. So as I've said before, things are moving so fast. They are moving really, really quickly. So you've got to reach out and catch the lightning. So I'm James McIntyre, and we'll drop another video next Tuesday. Until then, be good to yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.